But anyway, Jordan, did you watch this week's
did.
shows? Okay, I want to make sure before I ask
Oh,
you
yeah, I
anything
wouldn't miss
specific. This week's shows covering baseball. What was it this week? Baseball Space Jam? That was last week.
That was this week.
This was this week.
This week was
Yeah,
Space Jam.
Gary
First
Payton.
Baseball.
First retirement. Coming back.
Hornets.
Facing the Hornets.
Supersonics.
Sonics. We need them back. We need them back.
Immediate thoughts on the show. I'm going to go check
I liked
some stuff.
being a Hornets fan. That was in our good basketball playing days. Even though
let me ask you this. Now,
go
I'm going
ahead.
to let you finish. I made this comment Monday, and you could probably agree with it. I said, that's the most media coverage on ESPN the Hornets have gotten maybe in the last 10 to 15 years.
I mean, we had for a good while there, we had some teams that were good. I was a huge Glenn Rice fan. I hated we traded Alonzo for him because I like Alonzo, but we had a good team that year. I was surprised that BJ said that they were completely out of their league. I thought we had a good team, and I thought it showed up when we tied the series up 1-1. BJ just did the wrong thing.
Pissed Michael
Yeah, it's
off.
what he did. And after that, I can remember because I wasn't that old. I believe that was 97. I might be wrong. That was 96. That was their best team.
Mm-hmm.
It was 96. So I was 18. I was graduating high school. I can remember watching us win that game and thinking in my head, we're coming home. We're coming home. We can go up 2-1. And he destroyed us the next game. Me not knowing that the in-depth thing about Michael being that way, I didn't know the ramifications, what BJ did was going to be that bad for us. So I like that. I really liked I didn't believe Michael on one thing. His assessment, him laughing at Gary Payton, saying that he was guarding. Payton did a real good job on him that game.
But Michael's not going to admit that.
No, he was not. And him laughing about that whole deal.
He said the glove. I didn't have no problem with the glove.
I didn't agree with him on that. I was talking to Kevin about the Hornets, how I thought we had a good team. BJ making Jordan mad. And then I can remember being in that situation and going home 1-1, thinking we were coming home, and then we just got killed the next game. I think we lost by about 20. And then I told him I didn't believe Michael on his assessment of Gary Payton when he was laughing at the video that Gary said. I thought when they finally put Gary Payton on him that worked. And if they would have done that from the beginning, it might have been a little bit different series. I don't think they would have beat them, but Jordan laughed at that. Gary Payton was an awesome defender and definitely up for the challenge. So I think Kevin's a Gary Payton fan. I definitely am too.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gary Payton. As far as Jordan saying he didn't have a problem, I can see what he meant by it. He's taller than him.
Yeah, because Payton's what, 6'3", maybe.
Yeah, so he's not 6'6", and
he looks smaller than I think he really is. Like on the court, I think you met him.
But yeah, I met him. He's taller. He's tall. He's a good tall 6'3". It's just
he just looks smaller on the court compared to.
He wasn't afraid of Clyde Drexler, and he's 6'7". And
Yeah,
he wasn't scared of anyone. So no matter who you ask him about that,
You want to talk about somebody that came on there and was just raw? Gary Payton just gave it to you raw. As soon as he got on there and started sitting it, when he got to the point talking about how he basically told George Karl, he said, "Fuck that, I'm going to be guarding Michael." I was like, all right, this man's just stole this show right now.
But the
he's
thing,
just being honest about
whether
it.
or not Gary could shut him down, he was going to do better than damn Hersey Hawkins was going to do. And that's the issue.
Forgot about that. They did have Hersey.
Right. That's the you've got to put your best defender on him no matter what. He's their score. He's the head of the snake. He's their leading scorer. Everything goes through him.
Yeah, because Chicago's going to put their best defender on your best scorer. Why would you not answer that?
Right.
I did like them showing some of the All-Star stuff. I think they did. Was that this week where they showed him playing in an All-Star game a little bit with Kobe, or was that last week?
That was the week before.
Week before. Did like some of that. But
I'm sad we got only one Sunday left. That's it. This Sunday
I know.
is the last Sunday.
My wife has watched it as much as I do, and she was from right outside Chicago. She's a huge Bulls fan, and her favorite player of all time is B.J. Armstrong. Go figure that. So she thought it was great watching him the other day.
You need to get her a B.J. Armstrong Hornets jersey.
Yeah, when we went down there, he was sitting on the bench. I'll never forget it. She said, "Go BJ." I said, "He's on the bench, honey." But good documentary. There was one part of it. Did y'all mention where Jordan really got upset and he said no more comments? It was about
at the end when he was talking about how
if you don't like the way that I did things,
you don't have to do it. He said, if you don't want to play that way, you don't have to play that way.
But he was really emotional about it. Did y'all notice? That part of it. Want to think in your mind like, what's he thinking?
All right. So basically, where that comes from, and what I'm seeing and told from Skip and everyone else, and Colin and everybody else is, and from the old stories is he didn't want people to think he was just
a tyrant,
a jerk
maybe?
or asshole, because you can but today's society's totally different. Like Andre hasn't watched any of it, and so I said they're calling Jordan a bully now, and his response was, "So." like that. There's a different people can be the snowflakes they want and say he was bullying them or stuff, but I've played basketball. The best person on the team. It's at the end of the day, everyone looks at them like, did y'all win because of you? Or and that person is usually always kind of in that way. And you're never going to see Jordan on a banana boat with the other guys, with Stockton and Malone.
No,
right? So
we got to remember. Even Rodman said in one of the episodes with Rodman, he said
Rodman didn't even talk to him. First of all,
no, I'm just saying. But Rodman said off the court, me, Michael, and Scotty, we never hung out. He said we didn't hang out. He said, but it was just at practice or on the court.
They didn't even talk. Like they did not. Rodman didn't want to talk to him because if he talked to him, he'd mess something up. And he just did his job. And so so Zach, what you were asking is that he was worried. The big worry about this documentary is that he would come out looking that way in a certain type of way. So I think what that was him just saying he just wanted to win so bad that he wasn't thinking. And I can see he wasn't think about how he relates and was to everyone else, other than his teammates and the guys on the court between the rectangular court. Who else was he a jerk to? Have you ever seen in our lives anybody else come out and say, yeah, that Michael Jordan, he's a jerk? And nobody ever has that wasn't related in that way, a competitor with him or on the court at some point. And I think that's from his standpoint is what he was kind of saying. And I think he got a little upset on that that was the point where like he just wanted to win. And then I watched an interview afterwards of his trainer Tim Grover. And they were asking him about him getting emotional as well. He got emotional a little bit too.
He did.
And that's what he was talking about is like when you want something and do something so bad, then it can and will get emotional.
And then one thing else he was talking about the baseball deal and his dad's desire for what Michael would do. He loved his dad so much that made it so much easier for him to try baseball.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And he had so much going on with all the scandal that was coming up that they were just running through the mud with about the gambling and his dad dying. And was it because all that? He's like, I don't need this. I just won 3 championships. And I can see his mindset. I don't need this. I won 3 championships. Bird didn't do it. Magic didn't do it.
Did you notice real quick that after the 3 championships, they were or on his way to the 3rd in those documentaries back then, that they were already calling him the best player ever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was before
the other 3.
He came back and won 3 more and had the best record of all time.
Yeah.
Now,
so
that's what they were
if
saying.
If you're saying that at 3,
that's what they were saying.
What happens at 6?
Now,
Reinsdorf said that during their interview, or his retirement interview. The first time he said, it's upsetting that the greatest player to ever put on a pair of basketball shoes is, retiring. Or he didn't even say the greatest player. He said the greatest athlete. He just basically held Jordan to such a pantheon. And one of the things that goes to, him saying how bad he wanted it, how bad he really wanted to win. I thought the best quote of the night from Jordan was when he basically sat there, and it was one that they had played during a bunch of his promotionals. He looked at the camera and he said, look, my mentality was to win at any cost. That's what he meant. And essentially what he meant by that was, look, if that means I got to piss you off and we're not really friends after this, it don't matter. Because my mentality is I'm going to win. Well, and I'm going to do anything I can to win.
Yeah, he wasn't there to be your friend.
And 2 things that I noticed that came up that I liked was, the 2 things that stand out to me was his third. I think it was his 3rd game back from retirement. He put 55 on the Knicks. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I thought that was awesome there. But the second thing, try not to lose my train of thought. Oh, it was the Magic playoff series. Mm-hmm. He was still 45. And it was the guard for
Nick Anderson.
He says 45, not 23 or something, right?
Yeah.
And that's great. He came back and he was 23 for that game. He just wasn't in shape. And I think they said that was probably the best thing for them because that drove him to get his body back right and then pushed them to get those next three.
It was a different body.
Yeah.
With the baseball.
Yeah.
He
I kind of don't know.
Scored 55 with a baseball body.
I don't know.
The Knicks.
I still don't know the ins and outs of the difference, really.
Well, breathing.
Think so.
I mean,
his body, he didn't look structurally different.
Have you ever watched a basketball game where Jordan wasn't sweating like crazy?
Yeah. Now I did notice.
So how many baseball games is he out there sweating like that?
Right.
How many days is he putting that much sweat? And it's breathing. It's in baseball. In baseball, you walk everywhere almost. You jog to the outfield. You stand there and wait for a ball to be hit, and then you run fast for 100 feet, maybe 50 feet, 60 feet, and you're not running that. And then you walk back to your spot. It's not even close to running in basketball. So in baseball, you want to build your lower body because all your strength and everything is there, and so you're putting muscle in your lower body as opposed to running.
More cardio versus the weight side of it.
Yeah, he's putting way more weight in training into baseball as opposed to basketball.
And I did notice when he did that Knicks game it wasn't the Knicks game. His first game back that they had to go to the Pacers. First game back, he came to the Pacers, and they was in announcements, and he was pouring sweat. I don't know if y'all noticed that. But.
So Grover, that interview I was watching, he also mentioned that he had to about those workouts. He was talking about he had to discuss with Michael, and I think Tom asked this one day about basketball workout, affecting her shot. You remember me talking about affecting her shot in weightlifting one day? Well, Grover said that it does affect her shot, obviously. So he did studies and was working with guys and everything, and so he would present Michael as, if we do this lift today, on tomorrow, this is how you're going to feel, and this is how it would affect your shot. So he was actually practicing his shots based on what his trainer was telling him his body is going to do based on the weights he lifted the day before. So that's how intense and in depth that those workouts were actually involved, is that if I'm going to do shoulders today, it's going to affect my shot in this way. Maybe I need to do this or do that or do something different. And I think that is just outstanding on Grover's part to do that. He also talked about structuring workouts for someone who smokes cigars.
Yeah.
He said he looked.
I don't think I remember that part. Or was it something else?
This is the day after interview, and he was
talking about this with Colin.
Yeah, and he was talking about how he even looked up different types of cigars, how they would affect your body in different ways, and when the best time to work out and when to smoke cigars was. So that's how in depth Michael's cigar smoking went. Is that Jordan told him that he didn't want to.
In that interview, basically said, he was like, "Look, we were doing sleep studies before they were doing sleep studies because Michael wouldn't want to work out and just be going all day, and he might only sleep 4 hours." And this was definitely during while he was shooting Space Jam. They were shooting. He would get up. He said he had like a 6 a.m. call time. Then he would go and work out, and then they would play pickup after that. And he said eventually I'd have to look at Michael and just be like, "So when can we squeeze like a 25-minute nap in? Just something." And he was like, "So I was doing like sleep study, reading." He said we didn't have the internet, so I was reading, in books, just trying to figure it out. He said, he said we basically innovated it. Yeah. And he said we innovated sleep study with Michael.
Grover told Michael that, or Michael told Grover that he needed to, not to worry about what he basically does, not in his gym. Mm-hmm. So, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna be me. Your job is to get me in shape to do those things. And that's what Grover said he did, which is good on Grover.
You got the other thing I know that you probably enjoyed really much was the Space Jam side story.
Yeah, we didn't lose to the aliens.
No, and I did.
We're still here.
I liked Reggie's comment on that he was like, I can't remember the exact word he said, superhuman or something. He was going down here and he's taping all day and he's playing these pickup games. That Jordan was doing that not for their, he hadn't played with them in a year and a half.
Yeah,
and he was seeing their tendencies. He's
one
smart.
thing that he said is he was really inviting younger talent.
Yeah, he wanted to see how they play.
The younger guys. You didn't see many shots of magic. Some of the older guys out there playing. It was
you
the
or
young
him
and up and comers. Antoine Jameson was out there.
They didn't have the internet like you. we can pull up anything.
Right.
They'd have to have tape. I mean, he's a pretty smart fella.
So the Space Jam, of course, featured 2 Charlotte Hornets.
That's right.
Muggsy Bogues and Grandmama Larry Johnson himself. They should have done some type of skit or something with the Grandmama stuff, but they didn't because he's a Converse guy. So isn't it weird that they had different guys from different shoe brands? Like LeBron, I'm guessing. I don't know the list. Are they all Nike people? Do you know, Hunter? Have you seen the list of the?
The only one I know that exactly was the only one I know that was confirmed for that was Anthony Davis, and he's Nike.
Magic was a Converse.
Yeah. I mean, so you had Sean Bradley, who knew? I don't even have any idea what Sean Bradley was, but it was. But Sean Bradley was out there. Barkley was in it, wasn't he?
I was going to say, I think Charles was in it.
He's a Nike guy. And
yeah, definitely about Nike.
The dog was named Charles Barkley. Did you see it in Space
Charles
Jam?
Barkley.
I didn't notice that.
His bulldog's name is Charles Barkley in Space Jam.
Wow.
He had it. I think what was funny is the story about his shorts. The dog's taking the shorts in the Space Jam and needed his lucky shorts. I thought that was a very interesting take because that was a long story before that ever happened. Is that he wore his Carolina practice shorts
under everything
under his bull stuff, and then in Space Jam the dog they went back.
Yeah.
Bugs and him had to go back and get the shorts. And the dog caught
that was
him.
one of the reasons. That's what they say was one of the reasons Jordan brought the baggy, started the longer baggy shorts because he could hide his Carolina shorts.
Well, Stockton never got on that trip.
Stockton was wearing tidy whities. How much you want to bet on that? I would bet every bit of it. Stockton had them things hiked up his butt there. So they talked. So Space Jam, and then he came back. So we had baseball, Zach, and Terry Francona said he could maybe a 1,500 at bats, probably make the major leagues. Even about a 200. He started with a 13-game hit streak.
You talking about
Jordan?
Yes.
13-game hit. The 13-game hit streak is what is just outstanding. That his biggest detriment, I thought, was his height more than anything. It's tough and it's awkward to be, 6'6", not just be a big power hitter, and his body like.
Can you imagine the size of the glove that he was wearing?
Yeah, I mean,
the fielding glove.
He's 6'6".
His hands are huge.
He's and he's only 200 pounds, 205. It's not like he's 6'6", 240 or something. That's what most. I don't know how many pounds does Aaron Judge weigh? I'm sure it's more than 205
Judge is
pounds.
like 6'7". He's probably 240.
I mean, it's not.
He's thick, man.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He is very big.
So how many contact 6'6" hitters you
don't
see?
You see him all about. You see him all about Altuve's height. If you want him just being contact hitters.
Judge, to give you an example, is 6'7", 280. Zach. So there's your difference between you.
I was 80 pounds off.
That's Zion Williamson.
I mean, that's the difference between your baseball.
That really is.
It's his exact.
That's about his exact measurements. I think Zion's 6'6", 290, almost 300. He's like the second heaviest in the NBA right.
He's gonna get shorter and shorter as the time goes on.
He's gonna start and just get fatter.
He's listed at 6'6", 280.
Zion.
So Zion's had 80 more pounds on Jordan, basically.
Zion is one bad weekend away down in New Orleans from being overweight.
And I don't know if we said it on here or not, but they said Jordan did a 40. Maybe Roy said that. He did a 40-yard dash.
Roy said that him
4.39.
I think he said him and Guthridge both timed him, and they both looked at each other and Roy made sure he was like, "We're not professional timers, but we both looked at our clocks and said, "What'd you get?" And said Guthridge looked at him and said, "Well, what did you get?" He said, "I got sub 4.4."
Zach.
Yep.
He had, what did you say, 30 stolen bases?
Yeah, he had like 30
stolen bases. He had a ton of stolen bases in Double-A.
In Double-A, too. Well, so Zach will remember, as far as Jordan, the younger years, the athlete that he was before, the 90s athlete, the 90s basketball player was perfection. The 80s athlete was just... Let's say there was no basketball. Jordan would have been in the Olympics at something, don't you think? High jump, long jump, triple jump, something. That young Jordan, that athlete that he was at that point, would have been in some type of something. Yeah. I don't know what, but I mean, if there was no basketball.
And you can look at it for the people that never got to watch it. You can get the games, and if you play the games, The video games, that 85 to 90 Jordan is just so athletic, and you get into the Jordan that's got a little bit more skill to his in the games. You can see that, and I think that's what you're referencing.
Yeah, the early years is I'm going to out-athlete everyone.
And it's basically the thing
most young guys in their 20s.
Yeah.
And then you hit 26, 27, 28, you start slowing down, you're like, I better hit a jump shot.
Yeah, I got to learn, fade away, where he put the fade away in. And this is all, what you're talking about, it's all the Jordan with hair. Once he went no hair, he started to transition.
With Jordan with hair, I think could have won the high jump. I mean, I really do. Just the way he got up, he could have easily learned to flip over backwards. And
and they even talked about it, on some of the not the last dance, but they've talked about how he just could get up in the air and it's like he stayed there. It was ridiculous.
It was the floating nigga. You'd foul him, you would hit the ground, and he'd still be in the air. You're like,
just like, how did you doing that?
He's not human.
Yeah.
Remember, he's God disguised as Michael Jordan. Famous quote from Larry Bird.
A couple of other things to get into and talk about since we've seen Zach. We've had some NASCAR